You know, it's kind of funny for me because I'm looking out here and I can't, you know how sometimes when you're doing something and then you go off to do something else and you come back to do the first thing again and it's like no time has happened in between, you know. And I remember a couple of times, hanging out a couple of times and things sort of like this, maybe a little bigger, you know, back about 30 years ago, and I was looking out there and it was raining and people were having fun anyway, and it didn't matter. As a matter of fact, I remember back in those days, because it was funny being here tonight, this afternoon and walking around, and it's not just the sights, but it's the smells, and it's the taste, you know, and all the stuff. Because I remember back years ago, I was over in Denmark one time, back around 1965, and somebody gave me some presents to bring back to some friends at home. And I remember I had to fly to London, I got on an airplane, and it was what we used to call as like an illegal substance or something. And I remember getting on the plane, and the plane took off, and I suddenly realized that, you know, I started getting like, they call it paranoia today, but back in those days we used to call it like inspiration. And I was getting inspired. Because I know a lot of people today, you know, especially a lot of young people, you may not understand, but there were times when people were so gifted. People had powers and abilities beyond the comprehension that you could not understand. I'm not just talking about us guys. I'm talking about, I knew a guy one time who would stand on the airport runways and he would smell airplanes as they was coming in for landing. I'm talking about authorities with powers and abilities that would boggle the mind today. And he would stand there and smell the planes as they was coming in. I know you think I'm making this up. And he would radio into the guys at the gate. He would say something like, "There's a man in seat 36C carrying some illegal substance." And they'd pick the poor sucker up at the gate. And I know you're saying, what is he talking about? I know what I'm talking about. Because one time I was sitting on an airplane in seat 36C. And like I said, I had some illegal substance on my person, is what we used to say. I didn't mean to have it, but I didn't know what to do with it. And there I was, and I knew I couldn't get rid of it at that point, and I was sitting in a no-smoking seat. I didn't know what to do, so I ate it. Yeah, I did, I ate it. And there I was. I was sitting in seat 36C, D, E, and F. I was floating around the plane. I was feeling pretty good. And then I started having, like I said before, some of this inspiration. Actually, it's going beyond inspiration. It was going over into revelation. Because I was looking out the window of my plane, and I could see the man standing on the runway smelling my plane. And I was 1,000 miles away from America at the time, but I could see him as plain as day. And so, like I said, in the final desperate fit of inspiration, not knowing what else to do, I just sat there. And after a while, I remember the plane landed, and a time tunnel come to meet me. It was attached to the building, and it came out and attached itself on the plane, and people were disappearing into the time tunnel. And I thought to myself, not me. I'm not going. Until I was personally escorted into the time tunnel by a hand-picked crew. And I remember I was moving through the time tunnel, and all of a sudden, standing at the other end, standing right in front of me, was the same guy. The man I had seen in my revelation, smelling my plane, standing on the runway, was now standing right in front of me. And he had a look in his eye that said, "I know you ate it." And I had a look in my eye, too, that said, "Yep." Coming in from London from over the pole, flying in a big airliner, chicken flying everywhere around the plane. Could we ever feel much finer? Coming into Los Angeles, bringing in a couple of keys. Don't touch my bags if you please, Mr. Customs Man. There's a man with his ticket to Mexico. No, it couldn't look much stranger. Walking in the wall with his things and all. Smiling said it was the Lone Ranger. Coming into Los Angeles, bringing in a couple of keys. Don't touch my bags if you please, Mr. Customs Man. There's a woman walking on the moving floor, tripping on the escalator. There's a man in the line, she's blowing his mind, thinking that he's already made her. Coming into Los Angeles, bringing in a couple of keys. Don't touch my bags if you please, Mr. Customs Man. Coming in from London from over the pole, flying in a big airliner. Chicken flying everywhere around the plane. Could be up a feel much finer. Coming into Los Angeles, bringing in a couple of keys. Don't touch my bags if you please, Mr. Customs Man. I remember some of that. I remember some of the old tunes. Maybe later.